everybody. Oh, I didn't know YouTube that he was coming down here with music. Please disregard. Are you coming back? Okay, so we getting back into our book, the Trilateral Commission. We finishing up on that. It's been getting a lot of views, more than I anticipated, about what's going on. The secret society, the Trilateral Commission, that most senators and House of Representatives are a part of, that run this country, which is a part of the elite, the globalists, the cabal, whatever you want to call it, Illuminati. I say the original word, Illuminati. So we're getting back onto this, and then I'm gonna come back with a couple of more videos. Um, we left off talking about the CIA and U.S. citizens. So now we just gonna get back into it, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Honey, I've been so busy. I'm frying chicken. I done got hungry, but I got to do the video. So Truman had been able to govern the country with the cooperation of a relatively small number of Wall Street lawyers and bankers. More explicitly, the report states the extent that the United States was governed by anyone during the decades after World War II, it was governed by the president acting with the support and cooperation of key individuals and groups in the executive office, the federal bureaucracy, Congress, and more important, businesses, banks, law firms, foundations, and the media. That's why the old media, CBS, they report the same thing and say the same thing. It is called propaganda. Facts. That's me. That ain't in the book. And media, which constitute the private establishment. That is so true. And then you have millions of people that I have to argue with in certain places that believe everything that they hear and see on TV, especially if they watch CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, all those old, which is part of the establishment, which is backed by um, George Soros' money, Robert Murdoch, that Trump is suing right now. All propaganda. We're going to get off into the Tavistock Institute, where heads of states and countries go to learn the techniques of propaganda, of how to mislead the public. It is a school in Europe, Tavistock Institute. Okay. Huntington concludes, oh, let me get back in. Huntington concludes, regretfully, this was no longer possible by the late 60s. Why not? Presidential authority was eroded. Trump just got it back by the Supreme Court. Oh, this good. This good. There was a broad reprisal of governmental action and morality in the post Vietnam, post Watergate era among political leaders who, like the general public, openly questioned the legitimacy of the hierarchy, coercion, discipline, secrecy, and deception, all of which are in some measures, according to Huntington, inescapable attributes of the process of government. You can't make this up. This book was written in 1980. I got a hell of a library. Wow. Wow. Congressional power became more decentralized and party allegiances to the as the administration weakened. Traditional forms of public and private authority were undermined as people no longer felt the same compulsion to obey those whom they previously considered superior to themselves in age, rank, status, expertise, character, or talents. You can't make this up. 1980, 2025, same shit. And the people are awakening again. Wow. Throughout the 60s and into the 70s, too many people participated too much. Previously passive or unorganized groups in the population, blacks, Indians, Chicanos, white ethnic groups, students, and women now embark on concerted efforts to establish their claims to opportunities, positions, rewards, and privileges which they had not considered themselves entitled to before. Wow, same thing happening now. Against their will, these groups, the majority of the population, have been denied opportunities, positions, rewards, privileges. More democracy is not the answer. Applying that cure at the present time could well be adding fuel to the flames. Huntington concludes that some of the problems of governments in the United States today stem from the excess of democracy. Needed instead is a greater degree of moderation in democracy. I couldn't agree more. This is not a damn democracy anyway. It's a republic because we are governed by a constitution. It's a republic, not a democracy. Get that out your head. The effective operation of a democratic political system usually requires some measure of apathy and non involvement on the part of some individuals and groups. In the past, every democratic society has had a marginal population of greater or lesser size which has not actively participated in politics. In itself, this marginality on the part of some groups is inherently undemocratic, but it is also one of the factors which has enabled democracy to function effectively. Hold on, let me watch. Check on my chicken. Hold on. What? Yeah, pop. And some fun. Oh, here. Okay. I'm back. All right. Damn, I done lost my damn pack. You can't make this up. Where did I leave? Mm, mm, mm. Okay, I got it. All right, let's see. Okay, we on the next page. All right. With a candor which has shocked the trilateralists who are more accustomed to exposing the type of symbolic populism Carter employed so effectively in his campaign. The governed governability report expressed the open sheet that effective capitalist democracy is limited democracy. Huntington outlines the economic ramifications of the crisis of democracy. In the 1960s, people put pressure on government, which was then and it is now being seen by more and more people as the captive of big business interests to increase social welfare spending and regulate the economy in the interest of the greater population. Demands for improved education, Social Security, welfare, healthcare, and other social services snowball into what the report calls an overload on the state. The state was already loaded down with responsibilities, expenditures for the Vietnam War, and a global police force, which the United States is the global police force, and we've been that since the 80s. Welfare for business and the wealthy in the form of tax breaks, business subsidies, easy credit. A recent example of welfare for business is a deregulation of natural gas and oil, which Trump just did. But with such a high level of popular mobilization, public interest lobbying efforts, and rising unionization among public employees, government was less inclined to say no to citizen and worker demands. Programs designed to diffuse, channel, and co opt popular participation expanded rapidly. People in leadership roles were encouraged to work for change within the system as poverty program administrators, civil rights lawyers, and affirmative action officers. At all levels, government increasingly rely on deficit spending. Same, the game don't change, but the people on the time. Same shit, deficit spending. 1980, the book written, 2025. Through taxes to meet commitments. The Johnson administration, for example, funded the Vietnam War by printing money. That's all they do is print money, which raises interest rates, which creates inflation because too many dollars out there in circulation. Rather than attempting to raise taxes and revealing the extent of U.S. involvement, city and state officials went on debt finance redevelopment sprees. Saying, wow, like New York City World Trade Center that ain't there no more since 9/11. Urban renewal became known as urban removal, gentrification, to its many victims. Northeastern cities especially fell behind in efforts to keep mass transit and maintain other essential services in the face of rising expenses and a shrinking revenue and employment base. Damn, same shit. 1980, 2025. We got the same problem in the face of rising expenses and shrinking revenue and employment base. Wow. As higher income people escaped to the suburbs and big business ran away to southern and foreign low wage regions, cities became increasingly dependent upon private banks, which were glad to lend at a higher and higher interest rates and strengthened their role in directing city development through institutions like New York City's Emergency Financial Control Board, established in September 1975. Their prescription for a financial crisis imposed auster- austerity, auster, well, impose on workers and the poor and restore investor confidence. Inflation. Didn't I just say inflation? Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I just said that. Inflation already shooting up under the spending for the Vietnam War continues spiraling. As Huntington sees it, the fiscal crisis of capitalism, a gap between state expenditures and revenues, is a product of democratic politics. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And I lost my page again. I lost my damn page. Oh, I'm back here. Okay. Okay. The message behind this oversimplification is clear. In trilateral analysis, this is the lead, the cabal, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. The capitalist economy can only function well when it responds to the needs of the ruling class of bankers. Yeah, because they keep getting rich. They get richer while the poor get poor. And policy minded academics. A capitalist economy cannot withstand the pressure of democratic participation. Let that sink in. That's deep. That is deep prescription. How do the trialists propose to make democracy more governable? In the age where media is considered the most effective means of reaching the hearts and minds of the population, steps must be taken to strengthen the symbolism between media and government. And that's why I said ABC, CBS, all legacy news media, CNN, they say the same thing. They end with the same report because they all controlled by, all those stations are controlled by six companies, all propaganda. I stopped watching TV in 2022. YouTube my TV. The Huntington Report blames network coverage of the Vietnam War and exposure of the Pentagon Papers for undermining public confidence in government. The game don't change, but the people in the time. Same shit, 1980, 2025. Huntington uses a statement by Walter Cronkite, whose voice is used during the rituals at Bohemian Grove every July with the heads of state and government that go ahead as a company. To draw a lesson from the experience of the 60s and 70s, the lesson is that most newsmen are inclined to side with humanity rather than authority and institutions. Well, we know that's a lie now because that's not true. Damn, did I miss some ash? I think I did. The media is also wholly controlled by giant corporations. Did I just say that? I just said that. Like Time, CBS, RCA, NBC, ABC, which are in turn controlled by large banks such as Chase Manhattan City, which is Rockefeller's, itself. In his article, Who Owns the Networks? The Nation, November 25th, 1978. Peter Bergsman points out that Chase and other Rockefeller, don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Rockefeller institutions are among the largest holders of network stock with substantial interest in all three networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. For example, 1973 Senate report on disclosure of corporate ownership issued by Senators Muskie and Metcalf found that Chase Manhattan controlled 14% of CBS. Bronson points out with stock widely distributed among shareholders, institutions can yield great influence or outweigh control with 5%, sometimes 1 or 2% equity. Wow. which are very much of the ruling class. That's a fact. Media chiefs like Hedley Donovan of Time Incorporated are prominent commission members. Yet trilateralists point to an imbalance between government and media favoring the cause of humanity, the mass of population not part of the ruling class. At times, the press is too free to disclose information, such as in the case of the Pentagon Papers. I'm gonna have to read them Pentagon. I'm about to bring that up. Thus, in an arena for action entitled Restoring a Balance Between Government and Media, commissioners recommend more rigorous self censorship, the right of the press to print what it wants without prior restraint, except in most unusual circumstances, is to be upheld. That means tell lies, which they do. I'll be right back. I'll check my shit. That's gonna be good. All right, let's get back into it. But there's also the need to assure government the right to withhold information at the source. Journalists should develop their own standards of professionalism and create mechanisms such as press councils for enforcing these standards on themselves. The alternative could well be regulation by government. Trialists point to the media as one opposition power threatening democracy. That is a fact. An advocacy culture among intellectuals and student followers is believed to be another. So called value oriented intellectuals assert their disgust with corruption, materialism, and inefficiency of democracy, and with the subservice of democratic government to monopoly capitalism. They do so in action as well as in words, taking part in causes like anti-war movement and currently the anti-nuclear movement. This development states the governability report constitutes a democratic government, potentially at least as serious as those posed in the past by the aristocratic cliques. Fascist movement. Now you got a socialist, communist running for mayor in New York City, something I never thought I would see. But look at what's happening. They bring you into the new world order, one world government, one world religion, one world currency. I never thought I'd see that. And he one of the top contenders. You don't even know what you asking for. Wow. You ushering it right on in. And communist parties did not tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Upholding the values of the corporate system, in contrast, are the technocratic, policy oriented intellectuals who should be cloned on a global scale. So they want more of them. Mm, mm, mm. In reality, the average group of intellectuals is small. A much larger number are reproducing aggressively or passively corporate ideology in their roles as professors, indoctrination, sometimes government officials, corporate directors and advisors, authors, and researchers. Value oriented intellectuals threaten trilateralism by stepping outside the implicit bounds of liberal, moderate, conservative debate to question the very assumptions and legitimacy of the system itself. That's why they don't want free thinkers. Because when you question, you are a threat, you are a danger. But I was always raised question everything. Believe none of what you see and none of what you hear. You have to see what's not shown and hear what's not being said. And let me check on my chicken. All right. I bet y'all won't lose my patience. Now, where did I go? Trialists write by now, higher education is the most important value producing system in society. That it works poorly or at cross purposes with society should be a matter of great concern. Higher education has always been a concern of the ruling class. Businessmen and bankers are the trustees of public and private educational institutions. Private colleges and universities are beholden to the gifts of corporations and rich alumni. Facts. Research is financially censored by private foundations, but with the 60s in mind, commissioners urged a re-examination of higher education, hoping to make even less room for opposition and alienation to develop. Stop. Like democracy, education must be limited, serving the needs of the ruling class. Dumb you down. And that's exactly what the school system has done. K through 12 public education has dummied down the American children. They the dumbest of ever. We pay the most in education, and when it ranks to nations, we are number 40. I'm so glad Trump got rid of the Department of Education. They not educating your kids, they indoctrinating them. They don't know shit, they dumb. They don't read, just don't do nothing. Wow, that was deep. Now I forgot where I was at. I'm gonna see where. Oh, here we go. Wow, I'm gonna read that again. Like democracy, education must be limited, serving the needs of the ruling class. Education and work go hand in hand. Commissioners recommend that more teenagers be steered away from college toward vocational training and that an attempt be made to lower the career expectations of surplus people with college degrees. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make it up. Commissioners recommend that more teenagers be steered away from college toward vocational training and that an attempt to be made to lower the career expectations of the surplus people with college degrees. In both cases, these measures are aimed first and foremost not at the traditionally educated white male elite, but at minorities and women who fill the lower levels of the workforce. So keep the niggers, the YNs, and women at lower levels. You can't make this shit up. Labor's role is crucial to governability of capitalist democracy regarding labor and social policies. Commissioners delineate two sets of problems in the areas for action. First, the working structure of an enterprise, and second, the content of job itself. Not surprisingly, they suggest that reform efforts be focused on job content. The more trivial aspects, the better. Presently, U.S. industrial relations are built upon the model of collective bargaining, where the relationship between the union and management is adversarial. In the long run, commissioners see the need for more Western European style consensual or cooperative industrial relations. They got it now, especially at my company. This theme is expounded in the 1975 Task Force report, Collective Bargaining and Employee Participation in Western Europe. Okay. In the long run, commissioners see the need for more Western European style consensual cooperative industrial relations. Okay. Trilateralists are found fond of business unions. I can't believe that, but let's see what they're saying. The type represented by the past and present union leaders recruited unto the commission. Oh, I guess so, because they don't put you in the union leader to do their bid. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, I guess you are fine when you put your own people in place. They said they trying to get rid of Sean Fain. Where did he come from? Was he put into place? I.W. Abel, former president of the United Steelworkers, Lane Kirkland, president and former secretary treasury of the AFL-CIO, So Chetland, president of the notorious low-wage ILGWU, Leonard Woodcock, former president of the United Auto Workers and Carter's ambassador to China, and so forth. Their job, like that of the third world strongman, is to provide a docile labor force at the cheapest price possible. There it is. There it is. Tell the truth. That's a fact. A docile labor force. Oh my God. You can't make this up. How many minutes have been on here? Okay, let me see where I'm going to end this at. The governability of society at the national level depends upon the extent to which it is effectively governed at the subnational, regional, local, functional, and industrial levels. In the modern state, for instance, powerful trade union bosses are often viewed as a threat to the power of the state. In actuality, however, responsible union leaders with effective authority over their members are less of a challenge to the authority of the national political leaders than they are a prerequisite to the exercise of authority by those leaders. Wow. If unions are disorganized, if the membership is rebellious, if extreme demands and wildcat strikes are the order of the day, the formulation and implementation of a national wage policy becomes impossible. Damn, you can't make that up. Wow, wow, wow. Why you can't make that up? You cannot make this up about the unions. This book, 1980. Wow. A national wage policy would be one element of effective planning for economic and social development carried out by the economists and planners representing business and government. In the draft, industrial policy and the international economy, the need for voluntary consultation between government and industry is stressed. Non-Japanese trilateralists are envious of the close and uncloseted business government partnership known as Japan Incorporated, giving Japan a competitive edge they resent. A sound industrial policy must recognize that the enterprise sector is the prime mover in the economy. Public policy can help to strengthen industry and facilitate the structural transformation of the economy. It can contain or weed out economic and social measures that reduce the dynamics of industry. Trialists would like to see a renewal of presidential executive branch authority. Trump got it, especially deference to his views on foreign policy and international economics. Congressional nation mindedness in the era of world order politics have been duly laminated by Trilateral Commission. They blame parochial interests in Congress for crippling Carter's first energy program and encouraging trade protective protectionism. The grueling controversy over the Panama Canal, same thing, 1980, 2025. You can't make this up. Over the Panama Canal treaties, the pressure to recognize Rhodesian international settlement. Trump stopped that war between Rwanda and the United Congo. Well, help facilitate. And the heated debate over SALT II have all threatened the trilateral consensus. The U.S. is the only major industrial country without national health care. Mm, mm, mm. As expressed in towards a renovated international system. Since domestic politics is inevitably more shaped by national than external priorities, the political process produces varied degrees of patriotism, which disregards the impact of national action on the outside world and shows little understanding of the requirements of interdependence. Oh, this was good. Oh, this was good, especially about those unions. We're going to stop right there because I don't like this reading and get too long. Actually, I just like to do like 20 to half an hour. So I'll be right back. Let me get prepared for that. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, y'all.